Okay, I know the title sounds crazy, but this video isn't made to bash women. There's a problem in gaming surrounding female characters, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about more. Hopefully, by the end of the video, you'll be able to understand what needs to be done to make this pastime we all love better for all. This is Dan from A Dose of Danjay, and let's get into this. The thing that got me really thinking about this topic was the recent unveiling of GTA 6. It was such a big event, but it was clear that some people were not happy about it, even though people have been waiting so long for it. As you can probably guess, it's because our main character for the game is a woman. Now, for a normal person, this would not be a problem. For those skilled enough to do the mental gymnastics required, it seems to be the end of the world. So what's my thoughts on this? Well, first of all, the people complaining that having a woman in the game is unrealistic are almost remarkably stupid. The GTA games are supposed to parody the US, and you don't have to be a genius to assume that there's likely to be a woman in the US that has committed crimes. Also, those that were saying it is unrealistic for a woman being able to beat a man in the fight, while she is also carrying 10 guns accessible by a scroll wheel, are kind of missing the point. If it's being a woman that supposedly breaks your immersion, then surely being able to fly on a jet propulsion bike may also ruin GTA for you. A couple other things I'd like to point out about this is that the game hasn't even come out yet, so we have no clue how much you are forced to play as her, but even then, if it's necessary for the story, why would you care? It's not what they call woke to have a woman in a game. Around half of the population of the world is made up of women, so having that represented in a game should be normal. Now obviously, GTA won't be the first game to have a female character in it, but what observations could you have about other games that show room for improvement? Often, female characters don't feel fully fleshed out or given enough development to help the character feel more interesting or engaging. I think a good example of this would be Forspoken. On release, Forspoken was widely hated for being boring and the main protagonist constantly saying annoying one-liners as if she were in a superhero movie. However, it did make me think that if her story wasn't designed with the generic person down on luck but then becomes magical all of a sudden trope, people might actually like the character more. If more effort was actually put into making you actually care about the protagonist, then maybe people would want to play the game. I know that there isn't a male protagonist in the game to contrast against, but it does seem to display a distinct lack of care about the protagonist and what she means to the players. The polar opposite of this can be seen in the Game of the Year and background footage for this video, Baldur's Gate. In Baldur's Gate, it is immediately obvious that all main characters have had time and effort put into them to make sure that they all have their own personalities, motives, thoughts and feelings, which just helps the characters feel compelling. In this game, you want to interact with all the characters regardless of gender, because they're all actually interesting, so it's fun. Another issue in games is that female characters seem to be given less perceived importance. I used to really love the Assassin's Creed series, but I didn't play for a while after the Ezio trilogy, until it was set in London. Assassin's Creed Syndicate was a fun enough game, where there were two protagonists, Evie and Jacob Frye. Personally, I thought Evie was a really cool character, and pretty much exclusively played as her, unless forced to play as Jacob. However, if you were to look at the box art for the game, you wouldn't know she was a main character, because she is hidden off to the side with her brother taking centre stage. Like, not even joking. If you were to look at this cover art and see Evie, you wouldn't be wrong to assume that she wasn't a main character. She just looks like all of the other side characters. It feels like Ubisoft saw us as less important. But why could that be? I would say it's hard to say why, But high-up Ubisoft employees claimed that quite literally, that women don't sell. Apparently, the game was originally supposed to be split 50-50 between Evie and Jacob, but the direction was changed to focus on Jacob more. This clearly shows that they do not care for their female characters, and they have shown this time and time again by changing the direction of their games to diminish the role that female characters play. Let alone just not including women in their box arts. There's a man on the cover of every single Assassin's Creed game, even when there is a playable female protagonist in the game. This leaves out a lot of people who may just want to play as a female protagonist. It's not uncommon for men to want to play as female characters too, which just makes it quite baffling to me why they are getting perceived as lesser by the studios. However, it is true that there are groups of people who appear to be quite against their inclusion. These are the people you see being rather vocal online about how it doesn't make sense, like in the case of GTA 6, but also straight up body shaming the fictional characters. Like when Horizon Forbidden West was unveiled, people were complaining that Aloy supposedly looked unattractive, as if her only purpose was to be looked at. It's an unhealthy rhetoric to put out there that women only have value based on their looks, when it's much more important to be able to understand and connect to a character like Aloy, rather than to be attracted to her. It's also ridiculous for a group of people that complain about realism, they are unable to accept it when it's about a woman. Because for them, female characters have to look like models, because it's for them to look at. But they never have the same issue with male characters. Maybe they don't like to play as women in games, and that's alright if they want to miss out on that experience. But the sheer inability to understand that games are not just made for you as an individual really shows a lack of thought and empathy for those who would love to play as a great female protagonist. Anyway, to end off the video, I want to talk about my thoughts for the future. I hope studios get better at properly developing their female characters to be more interesting and enjoyable to play. I have faith in Rockstar Games to create a great character, as they have a good history of making great games, although I do have a lot less faith in the internet to not make this an issue. I'm actually looking forward to see what the game is like when it's released, although I don't think I'll be able to play it as it seems to not be releasing on PC. I do actually think that better representation of female characters may help to improve the perception of them, and then hopefully the weirdos online will stop peddling these nonsensical ideas about the characters. Okay, well, I hope you found this video interesting. Feel free to subscribe and leave a comment on what you think about women in games. And have a look at the video up on the screen. I'll see you in the next one.